Senator Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for your service, and thank you, Secretary Austin, for going to Ukraine. I think that was extremely important. Mr. Secretary, for the second year in a row, the administration has submitted a budget request that would result in a real reduction in defense spending when you take inflation into account. The 2018 Bipartisan National Defense Strategy Commission recommended an increase in the annual defense budget at a rate of 3 to 5% above inflation, which we know is at 40-year highs today. Given the aggressive rate at which China is modernizing its military, and the fact that everywhere we look, we see new threats, including the largest land war in Europe since World War II, I'm very concerned that this budget would result in real cuts in defense spending at exactly the wrong time. If you look at the services and the combatant command's unfunded priorities list that they've submitted, they amount to more than $21 billion. What are the areas in the budget where the department is accepting the most risk?
Well, thanks, Senator. We built this budget. First of all, $773 billion is a very substantial budget. We built the budget, as you know, based on our strategy, which we just released about the same time that we released the budget. We believe that it gives us the ability to go after those capabilities that support our warfighting concepts. And in that strategy, Senator, China is listed as our pacing challenge, and Russia is cited as an acute threat. And again, we believe that we're going after the right things to ensure that we maintain a competitive edge going forward. When we built the budget, obviously you have to snap the chalk line at some point while you're building the budget. And at that point, we factored in what was the appropriate inflation rate. Of course, again, if we're unable to buy the things that we think are essential, we'll come back to the President and ask for more assistance. But we believe that there is significant capability in this budget.
General Milley, speaking of China, in your written testimony, you noted that China intends to develop the military capabilities to seize Taiwan by the year 2027. During that critical window, the Navy's fleet would actually continue to shrink to 280 ships by 2027 under the administration's budget request. That compares to a Chinese fleet that the Pentagon assesses would be as large as 420 ships by 2025 and 460 ships by 2030. Now, I appreciate the point that you've made that many of our ships are more capable than China's, but as you and virtually everyone I've ever talked to in the Navy has told me, quantity has a quality all of its own. We need to be urgently investing in our shipbuilding capacity and fleet, not going in the opposite direction. There's real risk in relying on capabilities that won't be ready to the 2030s to deter or defeat a Chinese threat that may materialize in the next 5 years. From my perspective, our current shipbuilding trajectory is inconsistent with the Navy's fleet architecture studies done by both the prior administrations and this administration. Are you concerned that the strategy and that this budget is inconsistent with the multiple assessments saying that we need a larger fleet?
Yeah, thanks, Senator. The United States is fundamentally a maritime nation, has been from the birth of our nation, and we rely significantly on the sea lines of communication for international trade, et cetera. And we have made, as a matter of policy, a commitment for over 2.5 centuries, freedom of the seas, freedom of navigation, and the right for open investments around the world. That's fundamental. It's part of our DNA. Part and parcel of that is to have a significant, capable fleet, and not just in the Pacific or the Western Pacific, but throughout the globe. So, sure, it would always be nice to have more ships. But the fact of the matter is the most important thing is to have the ships that we do have them in a readiness status, have them with the manning, the training, and the equipping, have them in a very significant readiness status. So that's important as well. And I personally don't want to get hung up on the number of ships versus China versus the United States. It's true, quality has a quantity all its own, but we have allies and partners. China doesn't. The Japanese Navy, the Australian Navy, the other allies and partners that would probably work with the United States, we exercise routinely with them. That would make a significant difference. The other last thing I'd make on relative to Taiwan, it is true that Taiwan or the Chinese President Xi has set an objective to have his military prepared capability-wise. That's not the same to say he's actually going to invade, but to have the capability to seize the island of Taiwan. That is a very tall order, and it remains to be seen whether the Chinese will actually be able to execute that, the Chinese military, whether they will have that capability or not. But that is the target on the wall, 2027. We have to keep that in mind as we go into the future.
Thank you.